Hey everybody, it's Andy Street Guitar Chart Videos here. We have another opportunity to teach the lessons. Last time's was even less than half an hour, and I've been on the same subject matter for about a week now. So let's look at where we left off, and we'll continue from there. It's early in the morning for me, although I'm up early in the morning making the charts. And then as far as making the lesson, so we'll start slow and get a little faster. So where we left off was 521 modal clefs with inner major 7th chords guitar fitted for string shapes. Okay, actually I believe we left off at 520 right here, definitely with the staff kind of colored onto the fretboards, and we had to split it up into two for bass staff and treble clef, upper treble and lower treble, bass clef, upper bass. Here in the Locrian color, bass clef in the Aeolian, and then lower bass clef in the Mixolydian color. And this was 520 modal clefs on guitar fretboard with inner major 7th chords fitted to string shaped shorts. So we had a long discussion on that, which ended up to be only 20 minutes. There was a lot of time that I put into this, and it was determined that I would try a different approach and try to simplify it, as I explained in the lesson. Suddenly dawned on me, it's got to be simpler than it is, than I made it originally. So I went to 521 modal clefs with inner major 7th chords guitar fitted to string shapes, not string shaped shorts. Okay, we know what the string shaped shorts are. C would be 3, 4, 5. Okay, in your tuning it'd be E, F, G. A would be 5, 6. These are the string shaped shorts. The Aeolian would start with 6, 7 root, to be A, B, C. Easy as ABC. I can go down an octave down here for the Dorian, 2, 3, 4. Okay, that'd be a minor, and then another minor, and then an E shape major, E major shape, 4th. Then we come up to the 5th for the Mixolydian with the 5, 6 string shape. Alright, and then the Aeolian 6th. So the approach here was just to fit it to string shaped shorts. The problem became that string shaped shorts didn't fit. It didn't fit. These fit to string shaped shorts. All is well. All's good there. The Aeolian, now this is lower bass clef. This is the bass clef itself. We talked about this. So just trust me, this is the bass clef, where this would be sitting on top of the bottom of the bass clef line, and this would be sitting in between. You see how it's got a little in between line there on top, on the tippy top of the bass clef, as if it was just looking over the fence of the bass clef there. Okay, this one is sitting on the bottom, as if it was on the ground of the bass clef, if this was a fence. Okay, so we have 3 string shaped shorts that this fits nicely. G being 6, 7 root, D is 2, 3, 4, and then the short A is 5, 6. So like if we were going to do that Aeolian, it would be 6, that's the B, here's the A, 6, 7 root, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, now where would that be on the keyboard? For the bass clef, would be at the lower C, so it would be So the bass clef goes through the lower C and is slightly underneath the middle C. The problem was, and this is again setting up for the new charts here, so we've already covered this chart and we covered it with painstakingly covered it. I mean literally. We don't have to do this, but I had to do this to make the string shapes fit, so we had E, C, and G. And in the Locrian, which is 7 root 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, I added the R so we could have the full G shape. Now we're not going to do that. And the same thing happened up here. Okay, with the Dorian, it became a Dorian where I really kind of wanted a Phrygian there. And the Phrygian was moved up to the treble clef, which was wrong because I got rid of that idea. So you get good at doing things. You get good at looking at things in a different way. That's exactly what I did. And I realized, hey, I'm good at this. On me. Let me just fit to string shapes in general, and we'll figure out what those string shapes are. Because remember, there's a lot of different string shapes that we could use, or combinations of string shapes. And I go like this because a string shape is only one string. Okay? The shortest string shape is 5/6. The longest is like a string shape that we would use in playing one string of a violin or a cello, which would be like 7 root 2, 3, 4 or something like that. And that's because the 7 and the 4 are on the outside of the string shape. That's that kind of thing. So, okay, I'm warming up finally. Came up with 521, and now I attempted to fit two string shapes in general. Okay, so looking at 521, again I could see that the concept had followed through to the fretboards here. This line here, I just put key control down here, but I really didn't know what I was doing, except for the fact that I knew this wasn't wrong. In our previous approaches, which are going to be utilized as we play guitar, these, sure, they have a right to be there. They're right in their own sense in guitar that we can move things around. So instead of saying to someone, oh, it's a conveyor belt, you can move it around. Oh, it doesn't matter, we can just move this shape up or down. This nails them down to 12 shapes, 12 cages. And yes, you can move them around because the key number, which is the K, is dependent on what note. Let me find one that has a, here, K5. The key number is dependent on what note is the lowest playable. Okay, so no matter what that note is, so that's the moving it around. When that note becomes the fourth, all right, then the key is the fifth of that note in this box. So that's all that was saying. We've had classes on that before. This is another attempt to fit it in, and the difference in this chart is, okay, now instead of adding or subtracting a note, I'm not going to do that. I want to divide that staff, the music staff, into treble and bass, upper treble, lower treble, upper bass, lower bass. And believe it or not, there's super high treble and super low bass to get all 90 keys or whatever it is. Once we get up that high and low, we just want to know what those notes are, and they'll be added in as, I guess, partial mighty clefs. What are the mighty clefs again? These are the mighty clefs right here. So this 5 to this 4 is a mighty clef. It's a lower bass clef, but it's still a mighty clef because it's a dominant 7th chord. FACE in the treble clef is a mighty chord. It's a mighty 7th Lydian major 7th chord. So I've divided it into those and then added the top note. So then that note sits on top. So here with the treble clef right here, then that note sits on top. Okay. Keep the video kind of, hey, if you need a break from the subject matter, you say something. Oh yeah, by the way, I know this stuff's very dry, but I'm doing all the work to make it easy so we can focus again and get something useful and some really useful takeaways that we can use in the future when we need them. We can draw on it. It gets into our toolbox. It's a tool. This is a great tool. What are we going to do with it? Well, the world isn't one tool, but we've made this tool, and then we get to a point where we can put that tool down and work on the next one. And then, of course, who knows when we're going to need this stuff, and it'll be right here. It'll be all figured out. Again, looking at the treble over here and the bass clef, all right, in chunks. The smallest chunks, the sirloin of those clefs are the mighty clefs. They're 7th chords. Okay, so this one in the treble clef, it would be F major 7th. Above it would be G7. Below it would be E minor 7th. Okay, in these 3 sections right here. Moving along in the bass. Don't worry about the offsets now. We're not going to talk about offsets. We did that in the last lesson. Mixolydian, again, we have the shorts, the Aeolian. The shorts still fit in there, so that's good. Okay. Once again, Aeolian, say lower Aeolian, we have G, 6, 7 root. We have D, 2, 3, 4. And we have A short, 5, 6. So that's... The mighty clef would be just like that, and then the 5 and the 6 of the A would give us a Mixolydian scale on the lower bass. I'm about ready to buy a new mouse. It's been like wanting to take a side step, 2 steps forward, 1 step back, some kind of thing. Okay, so you can see music's part of my thinking patterns too, right? Paula Abdul, 1977, I think it was. Anyway, so